This is KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guest today is Brian Glick from Revival Theater Company, staging the musical Chaplain, coming up at the end of the month. Welcome, Brian.
Thanks for having me back.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you.
You are in that, let me see, we're not quite a couple of weeks out.
About
just,
a couple
just
weeks
a couple
out.
of weeks
Yeah.
out. So at this moment, there is no way it's ever going to come together.
That's right. It's a disaster.
And we can't, no. So how is it coming? Before we talk specifically, just kind of, how is it coming together?
It's
you
coming
like
together well. I do like it. I love this show, and I've had a passion for it for a few years now, and so it's great to be able to put it together. Yeah.
This is a pretty new musical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was on Broadway in like 2012 and had a very limited run, and post its closing, nobody has done it except for like one other regional company. And since then, they've rewritten several things, put things back in that didn't make the Broadway, and so on. So in a lot of ways, a good half of the show is new material, and so we feel like we're doing almost a brand new piece, and we're getting new edits and additions to the libretto just last week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
new pieces coming in all the time.
Exactly. Some of them are optional because of the timeline, but that's exciting and new for me, and new for a lot of the actors and creative team. So it's been great being a part of that process and having building a close relationship with Christopher Curtis, who wrote the book with Tom Meehan and wrote the score and lyrics. And then next year, it's going to have a London premiere.
Wow. So
Yeah.
in some ways, this is the off-Broadway premiere.
That's right. Yes.
Of the newest version of Chaplin.
I mean,
Well, that's very cool.
It is. It's very cool. Very exciting. Yeah.
So, of course, Charlie Chaplin, even many years after his heyday and death, still remains one of the most recognizable faces of cinema, even if people have not really maybe ever seen a full length.
They know the pose.
They know the pose. They know the character. Maybe they saw the biopic it was Robert Downey, wasn't it?
In the 90s. Yeah.
Some years ago. But what's the story of Charlie Chaplin? Where does the musical land on his life?
Right. So it is somewhat of a biopic. We do jump back and forth, so it gets a little off in that regard. But Charlie Chaplin was a complicated man in his personal life, and a lot of people don't know anything about his personal life. They know about The Little Tramp.
Right. Even though he lived, he lived into his 80s, almost 90, right?
Yeah, he died in like the mid-70s. But people don't know how he created The Little Tramp, how he got to America, his multiple relationships. He had 11 children, and how he was exiled out of the country and then came back for the famous honorary Oscars award in 1970. It really takes us on that journey from the late 1800s to being a teen to, Fred Carter finding and Max Sennett, who is famous for the pie gags, helping him create his career, and him finding this character, the Little Tramp, which made him one of the most famous, wealthiest, stars of Hollywood. And at the time, people weren't fanning over stars in Hollywood. There wasn't really such a thing at that time. So it was, he was very much the creator and start of a lot of things. At the end of a movie, when the iris comes in, it says at the end, he created that. He wrote the song Smile. He was a composer and a conductor and a director and an actor. He was kind of a jack of all trades, and sort of a complicated but very, very interesting man.
I had forgotten that he got exiled out of the country.
And now I know that was all just to get him out. It's very interesting. It's very deeply interesting. It's very moving. And can be dark at sometimes, but it's also really funny because the Little Tramp was a comedic character, and the whole silent film, and when the talkies came out, and so it's in that sense, it's very that's kind of the biopic of it.
Covers a really interesting time in entertainment history and in U.S. history,
and the famous people like Douglas Fairbanks that came along, he was very close with. that were all part of his life that we all know as iconic figures of that era.
Tell me about the music.
The music is beautiful. The music is very symphonic, which I think matches his world. He lived in a sound studio most of the time, and so everything is extremely symphonic and ballady and in a lot of ways. It's very personable because it's coming from him. It's coming from his brother, Sidney. And then we had these big numbers within numbers, like production numbers when he's filming a movie where you have the chorus singing and dancing and dressed up as starlets. And so it's very Hollywood, has a very Hollywood 1920s vibe. But we jump we go from the late 1800s all the way to the 70s. So we span, the costuming is really kind of challenging. That's really exciting to be able to span that. And we're doing it, the design element is all grayscale. So the whole show is in black and white.
The show is in black and white.
Yeah.
Fun.
Everything, even the makeup, the costumes, everything. So the set, the lighting in some ways. So it's...
Well, that had to create that had to be one of those awesome ideas, and then when you realized how you had to make it happen, you probably woke up in the middle of the night several times going, why did I do it this way?
It's funny when you go and get props and you're like, oh, well, unless I can paint it, I can't use that red dresser. You know what I mean? So, and probably more complicated for the costume designer because, we're all about thrift shop, let's pull stuff, but not everything's in black and white or fits that time period. So it's very specific and narrows down the selection you can choose from. But I got to see some of the costumes the other day, and it's exciting.
Talking with Brian Glick from Revival Theater Company about Chaplain opening up May 30th and running one weekend, college at Dows, right? Mm-hmm. At Dows. And for those watching the video, let's talk about the cast for a minute. There's a publicity card that you brought featuring the title character, and you look at that and go, wow, cool picture of Charlie Chaplin. No, that's your Charlie.
Yes, that's Zane Hadish, and he's done a few shows with us, but nothing in a prominent role like this. So, it's funny that we found Zane kind of by chance. We were doing a fundraiser, and we just needed singers to showcase the season, and we thought, well, Zane's a great singer. Have him sing this song, and he sings it at the fundraiser, and we all go, huh, that's interesting. And from there, we auditioned him several times, and but I think about, oh my gosh, what if we didn't have Zane? Who would have we gotten? Because what an iconic,
right.
role.
Well, there's obviously you have to play the character a span of 80 years.
Yes.
There's a look. Yep. I mean, you couldn't have a portly blonde fellow portraying Charlie Chaplin.
Exactly.
That doesn't work.
It doesn't work. So it was great when we did the photo shoot. It was the first time we got to see him with the makeup and hair, and it was like, okay, this is gonna work. This is good. So Zane Hadish, Mia Frivesund is playing our Hedda Hopper. She's known in the Iowa City area. She's wonderful. And Joe Wietrick, who's done shows with us, and Stephanie Goff plays Una O'Neill, his wife. And so it's a cast of about 25. So it's great.
And how are you in the round at Dows? I know you do a lot of stuff in the round.
Yeah, it's not in the round. It's almost in the round. I say almost in the round. I don't know how else to say it. We're using all the seating units but one. So it's very immersive. Yeah, as most things are in that space.
Right.
You're
very, very close to the actors.
Yes, and everything looks like when you walk into the theater, it'll look like you're on a soundstage. So we wanted it to feel like when you walk in, you feel like you're walking onto the soundstage right away. So the set sort of starts in the bombs as you walk in, and I think that's exciting.
A lot of moving parts on this one.
Always. Yeah.
The show is Chaplain at Dows Fine Arts Center at Coe College, May 30th through, what would that be, the 2nd?
June 2nd.
June 2nd. How do people get tickets?
artsiowa.com, which is the Orchestra Iowa box office next to the Paramount, or revivaltheatercompany.com. Either way, it'll get you there online, or you can call. And there's 7:30 shows, and then the second is at 2:30.
Okay. All right. Well, sounds like you've pulled a lot of really complicated aspects of this together, and also it's got to be fun being able to work with the show's writer a little bit. That's not something you get to do every day.
No, I sent him a text one day and I said, hey, when you get a chance, can you? And he calls me immediately. He said, what do you need? And okay, I'll send that to you. So That's really exciting. It's really exciting. It's new, and I'm proud of the company to be able to do that, and everybody involved. So.
Okay, well, it's an off-Broadway premiere.
That's right.
Of the new version of
I like
Chaplin coming up and opening May 30th. Brian, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Again, artsiowa.com or revivaltheatercompany.com. If you'd like more information or tickets, you can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio most Thursdays and Fridays, or, of course, you can grab the video podcast and listen on your own schedule using your favorite podcast app or at kcck.org/culture. I'm Dennis Green.